Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives about recent important developments at their companies. With us today, I'm really happy to have Don Mubar. He's President and CEO of Avalon Rare Metals. The company trades on the stock symbol AVL on both the Toronto Stock Exchange and the New York Stock Exchange. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, Avalon is a mineral development company focused on critical metal and mineral projects across Canada. But more than just lip service, because that sounds like a lot of companies out there nowadays, the company has three diverse advanced stage projects, including a lithium and tin project. It's that tin project that we're going to be talking about today. Don, welcome to the show.
Good to be back, George.
Don, you put out some pretty important news on November the 3rd. It was an update on the 2015 work program at your East Kemptville tin indium project. You're doing about $1.3 million in work there. There are a lot of components to this program. Let's talk about the ongoing drilling program first. What can you tell us about how that's going?
Well, it's been going slowly but steadily in the right direction, George. It's a pretty big program, complicated logistics when you're working on a past-producing mine site like East Kemptville. But we had reached a point where we had all the results back from one of the three main target areas that we were testing in this program, the so-called baby zone, which was put into production, the latter part of the production history there in the late 1980s. And we drilled about 8 holes there, and the results are pretty much in line with the expectations that we had for it from the historical information. These are infill holes designed to kind of confirm the resource and most importantly recover more sample of the ore that we can use for future metallurgical test work. So we were pleased with to see that our expectations were confirmed, and that resource is taking shape as we had expected. And now we have also just completed some drilling on a second target area called Duck Pond. The results from that are pending. That's an interesting one in that one was never developed for production historically. And the last target where we're drilling right now is on the main zone on a projected extension of that deposit to the north of the pit where they mined that deposit historically in the 1980s.
Yeah, and let's talk about that because the main and the baby zone were previously mined. That's important. This isn't just exploration work in the traditional sense where you're out there trying to find something and hoping you can find something. Let's talk about why it was economical back in the mid-80s, how it fell out of favor, and why suddenly you're looking to revive it.
Yes, it was a producer for about 6 years, starting in 1985, and in the early 1980s there had been quite a run-up in tin prices from historical levels of about $2 US a pound up to over $6, and it looked like there was going to be continued growth there. And at the time, there was an international tin cartel that controlled the supply, and sadly for the developer at the time, Rio Algom Limited, that cartel was disbanded fairly abruptly. New supply came into the market, and the price started to drop just about the time they put it in production. And it dropped back down to that $2 a pound range, and they were just not able to make it economic at those price levels. Shut it down in 1992, and it's been basically shut ever since. But only because of the tin price, not because the resource had been exhausted, and a very significant resource was left in the ground with potential for redevelopment should tin prices and demand recover, and of course that's what we're seeing today.
Yeah, just as a note for everyone at home, I did a quick scan earlier of the London Metals Exchange. You're talking about tin prices now we're at $7, over $7 US a pound, and that's in US dollars, which is also beneficial to Avalon because you're a Canadian company.
Yeah, that's exactly. The exchange rate is working in our favor now too.
Let's talk about the timing of this project as well. You've got a situation where there's growing demand as a result of technology, believe it or not, needing tin for soldering and all those boards and all those electronics that we all use. You also have the condition of lower supply because there wasn't a lot of new projects coming on board, which is leading to these higher prices. So do you foresee that dynamic continuing? What's your personal opinion or the company's opinion on the growing demand and the lower supply dynamic?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, actually. We've been following a lot of the commentary in the marketplace by market analysts and researchers in the space, and there seems to be consensus that the existing supply sources are not going to be able to meet the growing demand. And one of the common observations is that unlike a lot of the base metals over the last 10 years during the so-called commodities super cycle, there was no real big new capacity for production of tin that came online during that period. So tin is not in the oversupply, overcapacity area that a lot of the other base metals are right now. And with growing demand, it's actually looking like a lot of these traditional supply sources are starting to see resource exhaustion and less ability to meet that demand going forward. So it creates an ideal circumstance for a new supplier to come into the marketplace, and East Kemptville is a relatively advanced project compared to a greenfields project to be able to do that.
Now, playing devil's advocate, there are some people, there are always a lot of companies out there that talk their own book, and maybe sometimes they're optimistic or hopeful that these kind of market conditions will prevail for them. And you wouldn't blame a CEO for saying that, but more than just lip service, you've also got the pretty well-respected International Tin Research Institute that's also supporting your views.
Yes, they're one of the respected analysts, commentators on the industry that's out there. It's an association of producers around the world. They publish regular updates and commentary to their members, and we found them to be pretty astute analysts of the market, and that's one of the messages that we're hearing from ITRI.
Are you going to be presenting at their upcoming conference?
Yeah, they do conferences semi-annually, and the next one's in London in late November the 26th, actually, where they focus on development stage companies, and we're on the program there to present the East Kemptville story in London on that date.
Switching gears a little bit, in addition to tin, are there possibilities for byproducts coming from the deposit?
Yes, this is a type of tin deposit called a tin Grison, and they typically are polymetallic deposits that often contain recoverable quantities of copper, zinc, little bits of silver and gold, and sometimes other rare metals. And in our case, we know that this resource is enriched in the rare metal indium, and it follows zinc in the system, and which means that when we concentrate the zinc, we'll concentrate the indium along with it and be able to recover that and get paid for it. The presence of indium wasn't even recognized historically. There wasn't much demand in the 1980s, and they didn't even analyze for it in those days. So that's kind of a bonus sweetener amongst the potential byproducts that we see with this tin resource. And there could be others. Where you find indium and tin, you often find gallium, germanium, and we even know there's some lithium kicking around in the system there at East Kemptville.
Let's talk a little bit about, it seems the focus of the company has been switching over the last, I'm not sure if that's by design or you're just following what the ground is giving you, but East Kemptville obviously is an important tin project for you. Separation Rapids, you've done a lot of work there with respect to lithium mineral possibilities. How does that impact your focus being known as a rare metals company? I mean, your name is Avalon Rare Metals. Does there come a point when you officially change that focus and maybe even branding?
Well, we have always been a diversified rare metals company. I mean, we've had the tin project and the lithium project in our portfolio actually longer than we had the Nechalacho rare earths project. But during the boom years for rare earths and Nechalacho kind of stole the show in the headlines, and that was the main story when we listed on New York and in the United States. So we became known to many investors as a rare earths company. And the double usage of the word rare and rare earths and rare metals, although rare metals includes things like lithium, indium, gallium, germanium, is confusing to investors. They see Avalon rare metals, they think rare earths, and they think, well, we're not interested in rare earths, we'd rather invest in lithium. So we've got to find a way to make it more apparent to investors that we're not a pure rare earths company. And so we're looking at rebranding in the short term to help investors appreciate that we are indeed a diversified company, and we do have this new focus on other rare metals, including lithium and tin indium.
Well, Don, I got to tell you, as someone who's interviewed you several times this year, what's really refreshing about your approach is that you're constantly moving the company forward as opposed to sitting back and waiting for something to happen with old projects. And the fact that you're moving along East Kemptville on the tin side and Separation Rapids on the lithium side, and now even looking at rebranding, I think is refreshing for everyone at home, both prospective and current shareholders who want to see their companies keep moving forward.
Well, you have to be an optimist in this business, George, and I certainly am, and I'm really optimistic about the prospects for lithium and tin, and I think with East Kemptville and Separation Rapids, we are really well positioned to take advantage and create a lot of shareholder value from those projects, which right now is not being recognized in our market capitalization in the marketplace. We are known as a rare earths company. We're kind of in the rare earths penalty box, so to speak, in terms of valuation. And we think it's all upside as investors discover the value that's inherent in our Separation Rapids lithium and East Kemptville tin indium projects.
Well, I know we're going to have you back on pretty shortly because your press release of November 3rd stated you're going to have a preliminary economic assessment come out before the end of the month, which may lead to a feasibility study and so on and so forth. So we look forward to actually discussing those real numbers with you at that point, and I'm sure shareholders feel the same way.
Yes, stay tuned for that PEA announcement. That'll be the next big milestone on the East Kemptville project to report to our shareholders.
Thanks so much for joining us, Don. We know you've got a full plate over there running a company with all these diverse, great projects, so we appreciate you taking the time to join us.
We're having fun, George.
You've been watching Don Bubar. He's President and CEO of Avalon Rare Metals. The company trades on the stock symbol AVL on both the New York Stock Exchange and the Toronto Stock Exchange, and you can find them online at avalonraremetals.com. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.